Hello, my friend. My name is PEtrovick, and for the past 25 years, I've been teaching, coaching, and training people how to create a better quality of life, typically through the home-based business profession. Today, I absolutely live a life that most people can only dream about, but I have to tell you, it hasn't always been that way. I truly believe that success and prosperity has a lot to do with our philosophies, our programming, both on the conscious and the subconscious levels. And the truth is, I think we all need advice from time to time, especially when we might be going through some challenging times. So my question for you really is this: why is it that some people have massive amounts of prosperity in their life and others can never seem to catch the dream that they've been chasing? Well, I've created this series and I call it Prosperity and the Mentors. And you're going to be learning from some of the most amazing mentors that I've seen and experienced and worked with in my lifetime. People who have created prosperity and abundance in all areas of their life. You might be shocked to find out where they came from and what they did to create the quality of life that they have today. You're going to learn many of their personal habits, their tools, their philosophies, how they handled challenging times, and how they stayed on track to create the quality of life that they have today. Now, my guest today is a 19-year veteran in the home-based business profession. She's a sought-after speaker. And what I love about her is that she has a very unique sense of business savvy. And it's taken her across all spectrums, direct sales, mail order, traction marketing, social media marketing, product launches, copywriting, coaching, consulting, you name it. She specializes in common sense training, which is most of the time not too common practice. She's the modern day mom and pop person that actually helps thousands of people all over the world find a way to build their dreams and to really live their dreams. My guest today is Diane Hochman. Diane, thank you so much for being here today.
Pleasure to be here, Terry.
Well, I have to ask you, what if you had to create a before and after story, what would that be, and where'd you come from, and how'd you create the successes that you've created today, Diane?
Well, before I got started, I was a stay-at-home mom. I had worked in education, and then I decided to leave my job to be home with my kids when I was pregnant with my second daughter, and kind of forgot that I wasn't making the second income anymore, so kept spending at the level that that my family was accustomed to, but all of a sudden realized I had run up an awful lot of credit card debt. Bill collectors were calling. It was pretty messy. And then I bought some products from a cousin, and they invited me down to a meeting. And I thought it was all about losing weight and kind of like how your feelings and why you eat ice cream on the couch. And it turned out to be a home business opportunity, the first time I had ever heard of one. And that day I said, there's something more, there's something for me, because I didn't want to go back to work. I didn't want to suit back up. I didn't want to leave the kids. But I also had no business background. I was an educator. I didn't know anything about sales, marketing, all the things I do today, but something told me, why not give it a whirl? So broke housewife, and today, I pretty much travel the world, both for pleasure as well as teaching and training people about home businesses and small businesses. I love to work with small businesses too. That's why I love that term, modern day mom and pop, because the internet has given us the possibility to do amazing, amazing things that would have taken years in the past. So I'm real excited to say that I have, for almost 20 years, lived this lifestyle. And I know you're very committed to helping people. That's what I do today. So before and after, broke housewife, life of Riley, so to speak. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love your style because I think, you're really successful, but you have a way to connect with people on any level. It doesn't really matter where they're at. And that's probably because of your life experiences. Let me ask you this question. If you had a definition for prosperity, what would that definition mean to you today?
You know, it's funny. I heard a quote recently, and it wasn't prosperity per se, but it just struck me between the eyes. So it's a success quote, but I want to give it to you and we can work from there. Success is not about you owning something. It's about nothing owning you. Mm. And I just, that was it. I've always been a freedom seeker. I didn't fit in the box even when I worked. I didn't fit in the box. I had an incredible job, but I still hated having to show up at a certain time. I made decent money. I was off 2 months of the year in education, and I still needed freedom. So prosperity is about being to come and go and do what you're called to do, for me. Mm-hmm. And that's different for every person. And that's why I think, you know, when we're working with folks across the industry, your definition could be very different than mine about what success is. But I think that definition I just gave is something that's true for all of us, our ilk, that are seeking something more.
Yeah, I think when we first get started on the prosperity and abundance journey, we think money. But then mm-hmm. at some point that switch is flipped and we realize it's more about who we are. And if we can fall in love with who we are and who we're becoming, then the whole world just opens up to so many more things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm curious, do you have any morning or evening rituals that you do every day? And if so, what might they be?
You know, I have to tell you the truth. I am the weirdo that doesn't have these rituals. And I always like to bust it because a lot of people have, like, you know, they've read the book Miracle Morning. I just shared the stage with Hal Elrod. It's an incredible book. But I guess I'm an artist in my soul. So I tend not to have the same maybe structure as some other folks. But on the flip side, I have things that I do every day, like clockwork. So do I have a morning or evening ritual? Do I, you know, do my meditation or this or that? I don't. And I'm sorry to say that, folks, but it's the truth, and I can't say anything but what the truth is.
So what are some of those things that you do every day?
Well, every day I do eke in some reading, probably 10, 15 minutes. And I'm not an excellent reader. I do have a little bit of a learning challenge that I figured out I had. So I do eke in some reading. I do always do some listening, whether it's an audible book or whether it's like a YouTube video or something like that I'm not really watching, I'm listening to. I often do that while I'm out walking or shopping or whatever I'm doing. I often have headphones on. So every day I'm learning. Every single day I'm working inside of my business. I'm communicating with my base. And we can talk more about that later if you want to go in that direction or not. But I'm very, very, very connected with my base. And every day I'm also very, very, very committed to meeting new people and expanding my network, which is something that I see a lot of people, they tend to talk to the same 12 people, wonder why they're not where they want to go. You know, and I take time for gratitude and I take time for family, you know, talk to the kids and stuff. My daughters are grown, but trying to spend time with them. But I don't necessarily fit it into a schedule, if that makes any sense. But I don't go to bed without having done certain things. And I don't want to get into business outcomes just yet because we're talking more on a different angle. But I won't go to bed until certain things have happened. So that's my kind of daily disciplines. They just don't have a schedule. They just are done before the day is out.
Yeah, but I love the fact that you have these certain things that you absolutely, they're part of your DNA. It's your routine, that they're sacred. And I think that's really, really important.
I think what you just said, part of your DNA. My mentor used to say you can mark it into people's DNA and the way people think. And then we also learned we can change the way we think in our behaviors. And that's with personal development and understanding that in order for you to change, in order for your business to change, certain things have to happen. And the longer we pretend that we're doing them, not to be, I'm very straightforward. I'm from New York. We tend to pretend we're not doing, like, you know, if I want to, I've gained some weight. And right now I've changed my diet and I've changed my exercise routine because I've become very realistic. I'm 51 years old. Girl, it's not about looking hot. It's about, do you want to keep moving? Do you want to be healthy? So I have to change because I can make believe, or I can make believe I'm doing certain things, but my body tells the truth. And the same in our business. We can make believe, but our business tells the truth. We were profitable this week. If we weren't, we didn't discipline ourselves.
Right. Thank you for sharing it. That's gold right there. Is there a book or an item, Diane, that you find yourself sharing or giving away to people on a regular basis?
You're going to kill me. No. And the reason why is because different people, like I mentioned the 4 agreements a lot, Don Miguel Ruiz. I mentioned there's so many different books, so it really depends on who I'm talking to and what their issue is. And I happen to have a lot of books here. You know what I do? I go down to like the secondhand store a lot. Not a lot, but when I pop in there, there's always extra copies of these books. Mm-hmm. What happens is people like Think and Grow Rich and stuff like that. People buy them on a whim and they discard them. And you can buy them for $1. And I just keep stocks of them and I hand them out to people. But there's no specific one. It just depends on who people are. Like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was the first personal development book I ever read. I tend to give it to people and write a note in it. Stuff like that. But just really depends on the person.
Is it more mindset books and resources that you find sharing typically?
Yeah. And again, it really depends on where on the road a person is, because
right.
Somebody may need your first year in network marketing because they're just started a network marketing career, and somebody needs some really heavy duty science of mind stuff because they're really down the road. I have one student that I've turned on to a lot of kind of obscure 100-year-old books that, so somebody like you and I could sit down and we'd be like, oh, did you read this? Did you read this? Did you read this? But you'd blow someone else out of the water.
Right.
Which, back to what you said, I just need to meet people where they are and give them the next stepping stone and see if they step on it. Because if I recommend a book and somebody doesn't grab it, or if I send it to them and they don't read it, that's okay. But it just means they're not ready to step on the stone yet.
Right. Yeah, I heard somebody once say a lot of people are into shelf development as opposed to self-development.
That's why I get all the books so cheap. People think I'm so generous. I'm not that generous, kids. In fact, I have another batch downstairs I was just wrapping up in like plain brown paper. And I just put a note on the bottom what book it is, and then I just send them off. You can send a medium mail. It's cheap. So.
Yeah. Well, the reality of it is that you're listening for who people are and kind of trying to figure out where they're at. But you're also trying to equip them. And what they choose to do with that is totally up to them. And it has a lot to do with the quality of life that they've created based on their choices. So that's awesome. Yeah. Let me ask you this question. Is there a purchase that you've made, let's say in the last 6 months, for $100 or less that has had a positive impact on your life in some way?
The last 6 months? Yeah, Zoom. We're on Zoom right now. I've always been a webinar and video meeting person. I have some different tools, and this particular tool now, at the time that you watch this, it may be a new sexy tool, but right now this particular tool allows us to span the world very quickly and easily, which I like because I used to say, let's jump on the phone, and now it's 99% of the time, let's jump on Zoom. And this is not an endorsement, or we're not getting an affiliate commission on this at all. But like right now, we just, before we got on the interview, we were able to just catch up personally and face to face. It's incredible what we can do today.
It is. It's a very efficient way to build relationships. And I think everybody is super, super busy today and trying to get more done than they ever have, probably. So, yeah.
Which is an interesting topic for another day.
Yeah. So let's shift a little bit more to maybe business success, money, and prosperity. Has there been a time recently where you personally struggled with prosperity or abundant thinking? And if so, how'd you deal with it? And what'd you do, and who'd you turn to for maybe some direction?
It's interesting. I've always, I'm kind of like always on my soapbox teaching people about residual content and creating things and stockpiling things because it's your insurance policy. And then when you have something happen in your life, now you have all of this content and you have all of these videos and you have all these things that you can continue to promote with minimal effort because you don't have to do the creation. And I started creating content probably in 2006, so it's been a long time. And recently I had some stuff going on in my life and I kind of lost my voice for a while. Still probably struggling even with it a little bit. Doesn't sound like it, but when you go sit down to create new content, it can be hard to pull stuff out of you. So being able to utilize everything I created over the years has been magical. So yes, I turned to a handful of friends and advisors, but mostly I just kept my business going by utilizing the resources I had created for a rainy day. It's like the squirrel theory of marketing. You collect your walnuts and have all those walnuts so that if you have a list that you've built up, whether it's an email list or a messenger list or maybe a Facebook group or whoever you're communicating with people, and you have residual content, it literally can take you 10 minutes a day to keep your business afloat and actually keep it profitable while you're dealing with what you're dealing with. And I want to say to everybody, there's always something. There's always something. There's a sick kid. There's a change. There's a death of a parent. And for some people, it's a death of a pet. There's always something. There's natural disasters. We've seen so much lately, Terry. People. The next thing you know, your house burned down or your house was washed away in a hurricane. There's always going to be something. So my biggest advice to people is to prepare for the something before it comes. You do in your regular life. You have car insurance in case. You have homeowners insurance in case. Business, we can prepare. And that's what I did. So I didn't need to do too much. I mean, I had a couple of friends that, helped me along personally. But from a business standpoint, it was all pre-planning, luckily.
Yeah. So that kind of ties into my next question, and maybe you've already answered it, but how has maybe a failure or mistake that you made in the past set you up for later success?
Oh, I've made a lot of mistakes, mostly out of ignorance because I was a housewife and started a business and did really well and I didn't know. And we tend to talk a lot in the industry about all this planning and structuring, but the reality is that most people in the home business industry don't know what they're doing, and they're flying by the seat of their pants, and I'm one of them. And you know what? You just learn. The question is, will you get up again or will you lay down? Will you use something as an excuse or will you use it as your power? And will your ego allow you to get up again? I'm a pretty transparent person. I tend to talk about the mistakes I've made because I want to help other people. The question is, will your ego allow you to do that? I've seen a lot of people go to the moon and scream that they're making so much money and then they disappear off the face of the earth. But the mistakes are what open the next door to you. Financial mistakes, made plenty of those. Relationship mistakes, building teams and people, misjudging folks over the years, because I'm just kind of like Pollyanna. I think everybody's wonderful, and most are, but not everybody is. So how do they help? They give me wisdom.
So I have to believe that a vision that Diane has for Diane is the thing that might be the magnet that pulls you forward. How important is that vision for you? And maybe I should ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up, Diane?
It's funny because I've come to the realization that I'm of an age where I'm young enough to have so many opportunities and old enough to know how precious they are. When I started in the industry, I didn't have a vision. All I wanted to do was make some money to pay my bills. And all the money that I made went to paying off the debt. So all of a sudden I got out of debt, and it was kind of like, well, now what? And all of a sudden I started learning about marketing, because originally I was just selling vitamins out of my house. And then I started learning about marketing, and I was kind of like, this is a big world. So the vision I had for a while, Terry, was to get on all the stages and to make all the money and all that other stuff. And it was great. And I did it all. I conquered it all. And then, like you said earlier, you start to learn that that's not it. That's not it. So vision today, I have a book that I need to finish and get out. I have a lot more people to reach. I have a message. I have a love for this industry and space. And I mostly have a love for, not to get into flag waving and all that, but the American dream, the Canadian dream and the Australian dream. And it's the dream around the world, because people came to different places for capitalism and the idea that we can build something. And a lot of people think it's not possible anymore. And it is, because it's more possible than ever to do things that our forefathers couldn't have done. So I want to get out there and make sure everybody realizes, more than anything, Terry, it's just not that complicated. And that's my biggest message, is it's so many people overcomplicate what is simple. And the simplicity and understanding the simplicity will change a lot of people's lives. So
that's it's like you're leading me to my next question every time you answer something. we are in tune, girlfriend. So what advice, Diane, would you give the person who maybe is stuck financially today? Maybe they've tried network marketing or home-based business profession, or tried to sell real estate or launch a coaching business. Mm-hmm. They had maybe a little bit success, and then they fell back down, and it's just not clicking. What would you say? Are there any maybe 3 tips, action steps that you would encourage these people to take?
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. I just finished teaching a class with 500 students that have been in the industry for a while. And the breakthroughs that folks had were phenomenal. And I had people like crying and going, oh my gosh, why didn't I figure this out before? The first step is to pick something, anything. I don't care what it is, whether it's, an ML, a network marketing company, a direct sales, an affiliate marketing, whatever it is, pick something that you want to learn to market, and pick a mentor, a teacher that you're going to listen to. Okay, now this is the part that most people won't do. Okay, it doesn't matter if this is not your end goal. It doesn't matter if this is not what you all do, because everybody's taught today, do what you want, and it's all about you, and you're the guru, and you got to brand yourself and all that other stuff, and that's great. But until you've learned a certain set of motions and a certain set of behaviors, all that other stuff isn't going to work. So you got to pick a place and commit yourself to spend a year there and give it everything you have. Okay, so I think most people that tried network marketing didn't really give it everything they had. Most people that tried real estate didn't really give it everything they had. You got to find someone to listen to. So pick something and commit for a year. 2, find someone and do what they tell you to do, no matter how much you're being rejected. Because if there's one thing that I did, is I did what I was told to do. They said, make a list. I made a list. They said, have a party. I had a party. And I did it without embarrassment, which was, I think a lot of people feel funny about it. And once get yourself to, the old saying in the industry is, it's the hardest industry to make an extra $1,000 a month in, and the easiest industry to make an extra $1 million in. I don't know who originally said it. It's probably Robert Hollis or Jeff Roberti or somebody. I don't know who said it, but it's true. You got to get yourself to $1,000 in income a month. And if you're in real estate, that's a little different, or different industries, but still it is, because one sale of a smaller home or something is probably an extra couple grand. So it's one sale. Then once you have some skills and once you have some results, then it's time to look at the next steps of crafting your story, branding yourself, etc. For years, I never made myself the issue. And now, because I've been doing this so long, I have something to share. I think this idea that we're supposed to be teaching people all day when we don't know what we're doing is kind of goofy. So pick it. I think a traditional network marketing company is a great place to start. I think if you're going to be in real estate, you got to go find that good broker, that really good broker, and ask them to mentor you, and then show up and listen to every word they're saying. If you're learning from someone, read every word they write and listen to everything they say. If there's videos or anything else that they have, you should know them by heart. And I'm rambling on because I get very passionate about this. I watch people that are just starting trying to be the big issue, and you can't. You don't get to do calculus and physics until you learn to add and subtract. The old teacher in me comes out.
Right.
I was a Spanish teacher, so I just laugh because they say I never did well in foreign language. Well, the reason why was because, one, they decided it was hard before they started, because that's a belief in our culture. And two, they never really went or anywhere where they actually utilized it.
So people are going on this journey, whatever path that is. How do they manage the overwhelm of information, the lack of results, and maybe sometimes feeling alone because they're doing it, but not really seeing the results today?
Okay.
How do they handle that?
Let's go back to pick an environment and pick a teacher. Okay. So if you pick an environment, you pick a teacher, you're generally having one voice telling you what to do. When people are listening to all the voices, because I'm very demanding with my own students, I'm like, look, it's 6-week class. I want you listening to me for 6 weeks. I want you doing what I tell you for 6 weeks. And then when they start challenging me and going, well, so-and-so says to do this, I'm like, awesome, go study with so-and-so. It doesn't matter to me who they're studying with or who they're working with. But what I want them to do is pick someone and listen to someone. The reason why we don't listen to someone is because we're doubting ourselves. Terry already has results, guys. I don't doubt him. Terry already has results. I've been doing this for 25 years. I already have results, guys. I've been doing this for 19 years. The question is, do you want to learn? So the overwhelm comes by subjecting ourselves to numerous messages. Okay. Now the next thing is to actually take the daily actions and actually take them. Okay, and if you find that who you pick to study with doesn't do something that you like or you don't like it that way, you need to pick someone else. My biggest mentor that I worked with for 6 years, the original ways I learned were good and they were fine, but they didn't suit me personally. I exploded when I found that person because I was able to do a business in a way that felt really great to me. So, and then lack of results, that's a choice. I'm going to sound mean. Okay. Overwhelm is a choice and lack of results is a choice. There is not anybody on this earth that if you joined a network marketing company tomorrow, and this is not just about network marketing, but there's nobody on this earth that doesn't have somebody in their circle of influence that wouldn't buy a bottle of something from them. There's nobody. So even if you just asked them, please do me a favor, there's nobody that wouldn't buy some samples for you. There's nobody that wouldn't buy a bottle of something that doesn't have somebody. You may not have a ton of people, but there's nobody that doesn't have somebody. So the question becomes, am I really going to try to believe in this and do it properly, or am I going to sabotage it? That's kind of tough love, Terry, because I could tell you to read a book and I could tell you to this and that, but that's the truth. The question is, how bad do you want it? And the common denominator among all of us that made it was that we wanted it. We weren't dabbling. We weren't playing. We wanted it. It's the same common denominator among people who lose weight and get it off. It's the same common denominator among people who become professionals in sports and musicians or anything else. Do you want it? And if you don't, it's cool. Hang out, read some cool books, hang out, buy some products, meet some people, be in a better environment than, maybe down at wherever, the bowling alley or whatever. But that's the truth.
So it sounds like people just need to have that vision, pay their dues, get to work, and not give up on.
Pay your dues, I think, is a key phrase there, because nobody wants to pay their dues anymore. Everybody thinks I'm going to get on Instagram and I'll be famous in a day. I'm going to pose.
Yeah.
You got to pay your dues. You got to learn some skills. Talking to people, no matter how you're doing it, whether you're doing it online. I'm more of a copywriter, large group communicator. I'm not one to reach out to people individually, never have been. I'm an attraction marketer. Communication is the skill. Communication takes practice. So if you approach someone and they reject you, instead of, I got rejected, it's to look at it. Jim Rohn said, become fascinated, not frustrated. Well, why? Well, how could I communicate better to the next person? How can I communicate better to the next person? He has an old talk he does. He talks about knock, 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 knocking on doors. Are we striving to improve the way we're phrasing things? Most people are self-focused. They're not focused on the person, which goes back to, again, well, what book do you recommend? Well, it depends on the person. What do you say to them? It depends on the person. That's communication. It's about hearing the person and hearing their desires and their pain. And then showing them how what I have could be a solution for them. And also, I'm not attached to the outcome. I'm attached to the activity. I need to present to so many people. I need so many people to see my product, my service, my course, whatever. I'm not really worried about who says yes or who says no. I'm looking for people that it's a match for. Because if I force you to say yes somehow, because I get to be slick, you're never going to stick. If I talk you into buying a house and you sign forms and then it goes to the closing, you're going to balk at the closing. I'm going to lose the sale at the last minute. If I sell you stuff as an affiliate because I write a really hot sales letter and then the product doesn't live up to the hype, you're going to refund. So it's really a commitment to hone some skills, the same as it would be if you became a doctor, a lawyer, whatever, maybe any kind of professional. They go to school for years. You can go to school for 90 days and get good. And I mean that legitimately, 90 days. If somebody made a commitment and had somebody to teach them and went out and worked at it, 90 days they could get good.
Yeah. Awesome. That's awesome. So let's say somebody buys into the personal development pathway, the prosperity and all the abundant stuff. Let's say maybe they buy the courses, they attend the events, but they didn't follow through. It's that shelf development thing we talked about earlier. They know they should be doing it. They know they should be doing it, but they're not doing it. How do they, take that action, Diane, to really create more prosperity, have more tenacity, have more willingness to do what they need to do to create what they want for themselves and their family?
I'm going to say the thing that will make everybody nuts. Made me nuts. You got to work on your why. It made me nuts whenever they would talk about that. What's your why? And it sounded so artificial and weird, and it was weird. It was always, leave me alone. I need to make money. We won't do something unless there's something we want. Period, over now. You're overweight, you go to the doctor, he tells you that your arteries are clogged, you're going to have a heart attack. Watch how quickly you change or stop smoking or this and that. Because all of a sudden there's this ever-present why. Like something's going to happen or something did happen. There's a million circumstances in our lives that are like that. You didn't pay your bill and now they're coming to repossess your car. Watch how magically you find the money to pay your car bill. So when we're not taking action, it always boils down to, and you really got to be realistic, because that was a big theme of my class. People were like, I had one guy getting over 200 leads a day, and I had other people saying they couldn't get a lead. Well, what was the difference? What was the difference? Same instructions, same stuff. Them getting realistic, and then they finally went back, a bunch of them. Like now they're going back over the course now, and it's happening for them now, because the first time they were wishing on a star. They bought another course. They were wishing on a star. Maybe this is it. And then it wasn't it. The only problem is that this time they had an instructor that didn't let them off the hook, and it wasn't a video. you got to just work on that. What is it you want? And then pick something, pick anything. I don't care what it is. Pick one thing and master it. It could take a week. You know, I'm not very good technically. And I call myself the digital dingbat. Somebody gave me that name years ago. But if there's something that's important, like building a capture page, again, not all of you have to do this. You don't have to be into this. But for me, I'm not good technically. But I will sit down for a Saturday and I won't get up until I do it. So if you're not willing to do that, then the question is, why not? So that's what I mean. And you can read a lot of books. I have, believe me, I listen to tapes. I can recite Jim Rohn lectures. I can recite Randy Gage tapes. I originally got turned on to prosperity consciousness and ideas from Randy Gage. He had a series on them. I don't know if you remember those tapes. You know, and I learned about the vacuum law and the this law and all this other stuff. But see, when I got the tapes, I did the tapes. I did what it said. And the reason why is because I didn't want to go back to work. So you're either running towards something or you're running away from something. And you have to either be afraid enough or want something enough. For me, I was running away from the bills. And then after all of that was gone, I had to figure out something else to run towards. And on a sidebar, Terry, there's been multiple times in my career where I've lost my vision and my why. And then all I did was I went through the motions using my content. In fact, I have an audio on this called Paddle, Paddle, Kick, Kick. And it's about how you just paddle, you lay on your surfboard and you just kind of paddle until the next wave is coming. It's okay to not feel that. We don't feel that passion every single day. But in order to move forward, we have to have either a fear or a passion. Nothing else. Don't beat yourself up. That's the other thing, guys. I watch people, they beat themselves up. It's like, I suck. I stink. I'm sorry, my let's say that on here. I stink. I'm bad. You're not bad. You just don't want something.
And I think you're normal too if you have those limiting beliefs. And it's okay that you're not. I mean, all too often we hear these stories of instant success, overnight success, when in reality it took 3 to 5, 10 years to create whatever it is that they created. So be kind to yourself, I think, is an important message for folks as well.
Terry, let me say one thing about that, and then you'll stop me if I'm talking too much. Guys, in the industry and on TV and everywhere, we do what's called packaging a story, okay? We package stories because people want the miracle. People want the fast result, the instant thing. So we package stories, and we all do this. You know, I package stories. We all do this. We do it to each other too when we're telling stories about our kid. You know, like my daughter just got a 96 on her test, Terry, which I'm pretty excited about. The only thing was that my daughter ran off to Australia after a boy. She'll kill me for saying this, and left school, and it took half of her to go back to school. So I just told you my daughter's she's getting straight A's this semester, and I'm very proud of her. But I left out the part about she kind of stopped school for a while, okay? Because I'm packaging the story, because it feels better to believe all of this. So in the industry, we package a story. When you hang out with those mentors, especially if you get a good mentor, they're going to tell you the truth. And when they tell you the truth, it sets you free. You know, the old, thing. It sets you free. So don't feel bad about you. You just go find a place where you can find out the real numbers. That's all I ever wanted. Once I realized the real numbers of what's involved to get something done, I could set my goals. When we think we're going to post on Facebook 4 times and magically sell things, and then we hear that somebody did that, well, that's not how it really happened. It's a packaged story. It's not a false story, by the way. It's not, nobody's scheming or evil. It's just a packaged story. And I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, and you should be.
Yes.
So let's move on to a couple of lighter questions as we wrap this up. Sure. If you had the ability, Diane, to program everybody's cell phone, so tomorrow morning they got up and they got a message from you, what would that message say?
You're awesome.
Own it.
You're awesome. Maybe the next day I would put you're really awesome. And the day after that, I was like, you're totally awesome. You are awesome. Do you understand who you are? Do you understand how magical you are? Do you understand that you have a voice, that there's somebody praying for right now and you're the only one? I'm in this industry because the only person, if somebody had pitched me on a business, I would have never joined. If somebody had pitched me on losing weight, I would have never joined. It was a cousin who had lost 175 pounds. And I looked at him and I said, he's the only person worse off than me. And if it worked for him, it could work for me. That's why I'm in this industry today. That's why. And then a meeting and I saw a lady who was making 15 grand a month and she was like a ditzy housewife. And I went, if she's making 15 grand, I'm getting rich, that old phrase. But it legitimately happened this way. So the only person on the face of the earth, the only voice that I could have heard got me into the industry. And the irony is they're not in the industry anymore. And they're happy and they're doing other cool stuff and their life moved on and changed. But do you understand there's somebody waiting for you guys? Do you understand that? So you're awesome. Yeah, that would be my message.
I love it. I love it. In the last 5 years, is there a new belief or a behavior that has most improved your prosperity thinking or overall quality of life?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Well, let me think about this for a second. There's so many different things. You know what happens? I consume a lot of information, Terry, not because I'm studying all of it. I just like to consume information because things will hit me, like that quote I gave you guys before about success is not about you owning something. It's about nothing owning you. Last 5 years. See, most of the big ones came before that when I was working closely with my mentor because he gave me so many guidelines to live by and do business by. So I'm going to give you one that's older than 5 years. Do I have your permission?
Sure, absolutely.
Because I'm using it again right now. I use it over and over. If you'd only do what you already know how to do, things would change. If you'd only do what you already know how to do, things would change. And I use this all the time because as business escalates and the money gets bigger and the this gets bigger, it's easy to go, I don't know what to do. I'm confused. I'm overwhelmed. And then I say that to myself. And then I realize, well, I kind of do know what to do. I just may not know how to do it in that fancy way. And I scale myself back. And I realize, especially now, I have a transition in my life where there's certain things that I didn't do before. And now I'm having to remember how to do them because I haven't done them in 30 years. So I would get scared and then I go, okay, I can do this. I already know how to do this. We all know how to talk to a person. We all know how to be nice to a person. We all know how to invite a person. We all know how to write a postcard, and that's how my business grew, by the way. When things seemed complicated, I just did something that was basic. We all know how to dial a phone. We all know how to, say something encouraging. So that's what I use that philosophy. I'm sure there's one from the last 5 years, but I can't think of it that.
No, I love that. That's awesome.
The biggest one. And every time you guys get into that place, go, okay, if I don't know how to do that, because everybody says, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, great, what do you know how to do? How can you get the same outcome?
It's simpler than we think, actually, right? We overcomplicate it.
I'm always embarrassed when I teach courses because the way I do things is so simple that people tend to discount it. The only problem is I keep, winning the prizes and being the top earner and all this other stuff. And then they're kind of like, well, wait, maybe we should take a look because I keep it so simple. It is my firm belief that the average home business and small business owner, they don't have time for all this complicated stuff. And they don't have the budget out of the gate to hire a bunch of people. And then even if they do have the budget, most people have never hired someone for these types of things. So it's overwhelming and it's complicated and they tend to lose money on it. So my method's stupid simple. And I look for leverage. That's it.
Cool. Love it. Let me ask you a personal question. Is there a unusual habit or thing that you love?
Unusual habit or thing that I love? One of my, I don't think it's an unusual habit. You did ask me about rituals. I have a song that I listen to every single day. Sometimes multiple times in a day if I need to. Sometimes, but I always listen to it. I always.
What's the song?
Well, there's two of them now because I told everybody at a recent talk. There's a song by Jason Mraz called "Make It Mine," and that was my original song because it was I'm not going to miss anything. I'm going to make it mine. It's my own personal expression. But then he just came out with a new song called "I Want You to Have It All." So I tend to listen to both of them now because I want for me, but now I'm at the stage in my career where I want to give away. So I'm going to make it mine, and then I want you to have it all. So
I love it.
And they're not like crank up songs. Like some people have a song, they listen to, Queen, "We Will Rock You" or something. This is more like a philosophy song. It's my philosophies. So that's something weird I do. I tend to jump around a lot before I'm talking to people. I know that's weird. I just try to raise my energy, little Tony Robbins type of jump around thing. What else? I do anything else weird? I do a lot of weird things. I mean, we could do a whole another interview on things.
Yeah, I'm not normal by any stretch of the imagination. I take great pride in not being normal too, because none
of us are. I think that's a big part of why we're successful in this game is because we needed to be out of the box. I mean, that's really it. I always shout out to people. I'm like, if you have something that like there's certain people, some people just don't want to have a boss or whatever. Other people can't have a boss. You're the ones that probably are the ones that are going to go the distance.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Is there a mantra that you say to yourself often?
It's the same quote I wrote in my high school yearbook, and it's the time of year for it too. It's from the Rocky Horror Picture Show of all. The song, it's called "Don't Dream It, Be It." Don't dream it, be it. And I fell in love with that when I was a kid. A lot of people sit around and dream about things. I don't dream about someday. I just like, what can I do today? Where can I go today? Who can I meet today? What can I say today? Be it.
All of this personal development, Diane, that you've experienced and invested in yourself, how was that translated to your daughters for helping them?
I have a photograph. I often put it up on Facebook just for fun, usually around Jim Rohn's birthday or something. I have a photograph of my children at 3 and 6 with Jim Rohn, 3 years old and 6 years old with Jim Rohn. My kids grew up on having these tapes running, and they were cassette tapes at the time, in the background. I didn't force them. I didn't say, sit down, you have to listen, this or that. But it was always on. Like if I was cooking, it was on. I either had headphones on or it was just playing. It was always playing in the car. Like they would fall asleep, and I put, because I'd have to play their music, and then they'd fall asleep, and I'd put in my, my tape. The kids, my older daughter, is working in New York City for a major company that you all have heard of. And she's doing some remarkable things, and now has just started a podcast and stuff with some colleagues. And her whole vibe is based upon everything she learned when she grew up. And the younger one was brave enough to travel the world on her own and do all these cool things. So, guys, this is the best thing in the world for your kids, but don't get zealous weird with them. Okay, they're going to pick it up. If you're being it, goes back to my quote, be it. When you're being it, then they get it. And my favorite day though was I was crying about something screwed up. I was crying about something. My little one goes to me, "Mom, you don't got to get it right. You just got to get it going." And it just made me crack up. And I'm like, okay, you're right. Let me get back at it. And that was something I never trained her. She just heard it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the best things that we could do when we talk about prosperity and abundance. It's not about the money. And sometimes it's not even about us, but it's about the gift that we can instill into our children or our grandchildren that really equips them for a greater quality of life. And that's a wonderful, wonderful gift to give them that will go on literally for generations.
And that's what we get to do today, that modern day mom and pop. People came to start a business to give their children a better life. Our ability to give our kids a better life is different today because financially we've been very prosperous. So, we can try that. Education has changed. So it wasn't like I'm going to put my kids through college and that's going to be the solution. Our solution today is giving them a thought process and a mindset that makes them unshakable. That's the gift. And that's what we put down generations.
And that's the ultimate prosperity definition right there. So
yeah.
You have just given us so many pearls of wisdom, Diane. I just love you and who you are and what you're about and your desire to make a positive difference on the planet. So if somebody wants to connect with you and learn a little bit more from you, what's the best way for them to connect with you, Diane?
So my name is Diane, Diane Hochman, Hochman. And if you can go to DianeHochman.com, Facebook.com/Diane Hochman. Guess what YouTube is? YouTube.com/Diane Hochman. Guess what Instagram is? Anywhere you look for my name, you'll find it on every platform. Please feel free to reach out and connect. Let me know that you saw this interview with me and Terry. And, if there's anything I can do for anybody at any time, it's my honor and privilege.
Well, you're an amazing human being. I appreciate you. And for those of you who are watching, you probably want to watch this interview many, many times, take some notes because Diane gave so many pearls of wisdom here. And if you follow what she says, it absolutely will change your life if you let it. My name is PEtrovick. Remember this, my friend. You deserve success. You deserve prosperity. Until we talk again, bye-bye for now.